Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome to Movie Memory Machine, the only podcast about forgotten movies that doesn't just chew the fat, it masticates it. I am your host, Landon Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Caps. Truman, it's good to see you, buddy.
Landon, it is invigorating to be seen by you. The feeling of your eyes on me is stimulating my bowels in ways that I can barely describe, but I will spend the next 2 hours trying to.
This is gross. This is the worst way to start an episode, but as I finished that sentence, a little bit of strawberry came up from my throat and got stuck in my mouth, and I was struggling not to spit it out while speaking. Another person would have done another take of that. But I think it's thematically appropriate for today's episode.
You need to just kind of put all your gross stuff right up at the front of your piece of media so that people who have either bought a ticket or downloaded the podcast episode can know immediately what they're getting into. It is one of many ways Dr. Kellogg has influenced us for today's episode.
Oh my God, a real person and a continuing string of... How in the hell do we tell stories based on real people? I don't know, and I'm completely and continually more and more lost.
It's great. It's great. They so many biopics.
Is it great?
Well, it's great in that it gives guys like us something to talk about, I suppose.
Okay, fair.
I'm not going to get into sports. I guess I have to get into scratching my head over the way historical figures are represented on screen.
Well, I have a pressing question to ask you to get us into this episode.
Yeah, ask away.
What is your relationship with cereal?
Oh, Landon, you have asked me a very good question because
Thank you.
I was not a breakfast cereal kid, which maybe explains a lot about me. I was a toast boy all through elementary, middle, and high school.
Wait. Hold on. Okay, just pause. Pressing the pause button for a second.
Yeah, slam it.
What part of that sentiment defines you more? I was not a cereal boy. I was a toast boy.
The toast boy.
Is it the fact that you weren't into cereal that you think defines you, or is it the fact that you were into toast that defines you?
I think it's the fact that as like an 8-year-old, I was getting hyped on some toast in the morning.
I think that's... Okay, at least you have some self-awareness over that.
It would be one thing if it's like, I don't like cereal, I like waffles, pancakes,
Right.
But no, it's me coming downstairs and being like, I'd like some buttered toast with a slice of Tillamook cheddar cheese melted on top of it. It's like, no, this is not...
You are Matthew Broderick at the beginning of this movie.
Motherfucker did not have Tillamook sharp cheddar on his toast. He's ordering dry toast, sir.
And you know what? I'm gonna burn one of my notes right here at the front of the episode before we even get to talk about this. No one even knows what the movie we're covering is yet. This is the exact type of movie that Truman would be the main character of.
Wow. Holy shit. You didn't just burn one of your notes, you burned your co-host, sir.
I'll explain that more as we get into the nitty-gritty of this show, but...
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, all right. I look forward to expanding more on that. I don't necessarily agree, but I also am I think I could really be convinced. I think,
okay.
I'm not right now ready to admit that about myself, but I bet your reasoning is pretty good. But so no, I did not eat breakfast cereal. I did not eat cereals of any sort as a kid. I eat cereal now for like health purposes, which I guess is kind of what this movie is about. So, who's the real fool? I mean, were you all cereal all the time?
I'm gonna one up you at the end of what I'm about to say about this movie. I was a cereal kid, and I was like the cereals kid, like the cereals that you love, that you're supposed to love as a kid.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cookie Crisp, Fruity Pebbles.
Oh yeah.
Like
Reese's. Did they make the Reese's cereal?
Peanut Butter Puffs. Yes,
What?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. It is a cornerstone of the reason I ballooned up to 310 pounds at one point in my life.
Can I ask how your teeth are doing?
oddly, I have immaculate teeth.
Amazing. Okay. Well, there's that at least. They were hardened by the experience. From an early age, they were facing the worst things you can throw at teeth, and they got stronger.
You know, upon reflection, maybe my teeth are my superpower. Because I would come home from school, and I would probably have, like, an entire box of cereal and, like, 3 to 4 Cokes, caffeine-free Diet Cokes.
Damn. Jesus.
In addition to other things, like I was down in about 5,000 calories a day in high school.
I mean, and how far were you from Battle Creek, Michigan when you were growing up? I mean, do you think it was proximity to this center of wellness and health that kind of allowed you to bounce back from that and kept your teeth in fighting form?
No, I often, and I don't want to be glib about this. This is a real realization I had in my life that. Okay, for those of you who can't see me, obviously I don't weigh 310 pounds anymore. I'm far from the beacon of health. But if I had stayed in Michigan and didn't move to LA, I certainly would have died. Not to be downer about it, but like it would have not ended. And moving to Los Angeles, I think not being able to afford that stuff while living on a Los Angeles apartment rent. Forced me to be a little more judicial about what I was buying and putting into my body on a given day. But also just I was able to walk more and just have general health around me, and that definitely helped. So, I mean, you had sort of something like the experience that the people in today's movie are seeking. You traveled to a new location where you were in a healthier environment and surrounded by people who were more conscious of their health. And true.
And unlike several characters in today's movie, you didn't die, so a lot of upsides.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I was debating if I wanted to go into a multiverse comment there, and I decided not to, but that was my hesitation. Like, not this version of me hasn't died, but maybe a version that went to LA did die.
Yeah, I mean, your body is healthy, even if your mental health has spun off into a variety of different options in which you could have died.
Yes. Now, here's how I'm going to tie this in, though.
Yeah, because the movie's about cereal.
Because cereal, A, was expensive. Once I moved to LA, I kind of stopped buying it. And then I realized how unhealthy I was in terms of consuming it.
Yeah.
So I hadn't eaten cereal in a good, I'd say, 18 years. I lived in LA for about 15. I didn't really have any while I lived out there. And then the couple years that I lived here, up until watching this movie, I didn't have cereal.
Wait, did you eat cereal as research for today's episode?
Not only did I eat cereal as research for today's episode, I have found a way to weave it in as a healthy nutritional balance.
Oh my God, did this movie actually change your life?
I think it did. Because I still struggle with compulsive tendencies and portion control. So having a bowl of cereal, and I will be very specific in saying that I did research on what is the healthiest cereal you can buy, and turns out it's unfrosted shredded wheat.
Oof.
So I have got that and have turned that into kind of a 3 or 4 times a week for lunch meal.
Okay.
And I add a little bit of PB Fit powder to it with some 2% milk, and makes a nice little fiber plus protein packed meal.
Landon, be honest. Did you pick up a sponsor for the show and not tell me? Are you just weaving it in right now? I'll edit this out if the shredded wheat people don't want us to don't want it out there.
Here's the thing: shredded wheat isn't a brand; it's a type of cereal.
Oh.
And I'm not going to tell you the brand that I eat because it's not the one you're thinking of. I go with the cheapest option available to me.
Okay, great. Well, so now we've woven a fun cereal mystery into the show, so everybody can try to get on your level. Unlike Dr. Kellogg, you're not out there saying that what works for you is what everybody else has to do to get healthy. You're just sort of talking about your own personal experience in this.
Yeah, and we can get into the health guru stuff because I think I have as many spicy opinions about that industry as you do about the screenwriting guru industry.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, don't act like you don't have some spicy opinions about the screenwriting guru industry.
I do. I just don't have any personal investment in it anymore.
Yeah, well, that's great. That has been wonderful for your mental health portfolio. We are 10 minutes in, and I don't know if we have said yet that the name of the movie that we are talking about this week on the program is The Road to Wellville.
From 1994, the machine has made us watch The Road to Wellville. Truman, can you give our listeners a synopsis, the equivalent to a bath in a big pool of milk to cure their auto-intoxication?
It's 1907, and America is in the midst of a healthy living craze. In Battle Creek, Michigan, the eccentric Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, played by Anthony Hopkins, has opened a sanitarium where well-heeled dilettantes come to cure their ailments with his bizarre treatments, many of which involve enemas, strange electronic contraptions, and disgusting health foods. One of Dr. Kellogg's most enthusiastic returning patients is Eleanor Lightbody, played by Bridget Fonda, who has brought her reluctant husband William, played by Matthew Broderick, with her. William is doubtful of Dr. Kellogg's methods, but very enticed by his seductive nurse, played by Tracy Lind, and an attractive fellow patient, played by Laura Flynn Boyle. Meanwhile, conman Charles Ossining, played by John Cusack, has arrived in Battle Creek to try and launch a brand of health food cereal with the help of investor Goodloe Bender, played by Michael Lerner, and Dr. Kellogg's estranged son, George, played by Dana Carvey.
Okay.
The Road to Wellville.
I want to say two things out the gate here. One, I'm going to take the Ebert approach, make them feel what it's like, which is The Road to Wellville is as if a knockoff Coen Brothers directed a Pasolini film.
Jesus. Okay. I'm going to jump on this grenade. Can you please explain to me what a Pasolini film is? I don't get that reference.
Well, it is like more experimental later. Not Salo. We're not going that crazy with it, but like the Decameron or the Canterbury Tales, trilogy of life series of films that are just kind of about Middle Ages, not middle-aged people, though there are a lot of middle-aged people in here, but like the Middle Ages and like having to shit in a bucket, and there's lots of hedonism and sex and kind of depravity, kind of dancing around as sexual freedom, or in this case the inverse of that.
Well, there's a lot of there should be a lot of conflict between the concept of sexual repression and sexual freedom, which maybe isn't really explored. Yeah, okay, that feels like a pretty accurate representation for me.
Thing number two that I want to introduce now, because it's going to be a mainstay. I'm making this promise here now.
Okay.
I am going to be dropping some Dr. John Harvey Kellogg trivia throughout this episode. Ooh. And you segued me into a really great just first one here. John Harvey Kellogg, inventor of the cornflakes, and we'll get into that in a minute, and that's not even the trivia.
Everyone could have guessed that. The same Kellogg as the cereal? What?
He promoted anti-masturbation devices, including, and everyone get ready to squirm, spike-lined rings and genital restraints for children.
Oh man, why did you have to say for children at the end? I was already to have a good laugh about how it felt like a BDSM thing, and now we got child endangerment in the mix.
Well, I think we should just know who we're talking about in this weird sex farce of a movie we're dealing with today.
So, look, I knew that Dr. Kellogg invented cornflakes as sort of a, anti-masturbation superfood. I didn't realize he also sold anti-masturbation appliances.
Hold on. I don't know that you could... He held the anti-masturbation theme in his head. I don't know that he made cornflakes to combat masturbation.
Boy, you know what? You've done more research for this than I did. I just feel like I have this memory that part of the cornflakes branding was that eating this will help you masturbate less, because that was an issue of great concern in the early 1900s. Is that too many guys were straight jorking their peanuts, and society thought that shouldn't be happening.
we have a lot to go into. We're previewing some depths that we can go into in a bit. But I just want to make sure we're not skipping over our mainstays here. Just want to mention this film is written, directed, and co-produced by Alan Parker.
Yes.
A infamous director who did films like Midnight Express and a number of other kind of critically acclaimed stuff. Mississippi Burning, Angel Heart. He even did Pink Floyd's The Wall. So
yeah, that's a weird like on such a kind of upper crust directing resume to then be like, yeah, fuck the system.
I don't know. He also did Bugsy Malone, the children playing gangsters movie. So like
throwing pies at
I
each
can't
other.
get a beat on Alan Parker.
I haven't seen Bugsy Malone. Is it good or does it suck? I can't get my head around what that fucking movie is.
You know what? Honestly, that's thematically similar to today's film. Is it good or does it suck?
I think
kind of all of them.
I don't know. I kind of feel like I have a clearer line on today's movie than that one, but I guess we'll get into it.
But it sucks in such a unique way, I think.
It really enthusiastically sucks in a very carefully researched way, and I cannot help but respect that.
And I want to just mention the cinematographer Peter Biziow and the production designer Brian Morris. Because I think they are maybe two of the and you know what, costume designer Penny Rose.
Yeah.
I think they are all the all-stars of this movie. This has a distinct look, feel. Like this movie, I felt like I could peel it off of my TV screen. It was so kind of grimy and gross, but intentionally so.
Yes, very well photographed. I had I'm going to be haunted by this question, I guess, with every movie we watch, but I was watching this and thinking, perhaps this movie in the background at a party with the sound off, and I was immediately like, no, way too many butts. Way too many butts for this to be.
This is I can't even imagine. I think we set the bar for our most butt-forward movie ever. I can't imagine another movie, unless we do a movie called Butts the Movie, that is going to have more butts in it than this. And yet, outside of Tracy Lind, and, well, I guess to a degree, I don't know how much I want to get into it. There's a little bit of Cameron Manheim in it as well, but no name butts. It's mostly butt doubles.
Yeah, just so many anonymous asses parading through every frame. And
it gets exponential as it goes through. It's like, oh, there's a butt in the first 15 minutes, and then by the end of it's like, there's a butt, and there's a butt, and there's a butt, and this is a parade of butts starting this shot.
There are so many anonymous butts in this movie that you, listener, right now are statistically fairly likely to be within 1 mile of one of the owners of the butts from this movie. Those people, or someone related to one of them at least.
All right, let's go into some box office specs for this. It was released October 28th, 1994 by Columbia Pictures.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Go look at 1 million butts.
Do you want to guess how many theaters this showed up in? Now, bear butt in mind, this is an R-rated comedy in 1994. So there are less theaters, and the fact that it's R means it's not getting into as wide a release as others.
Yeah, I'm crunching numbers in my head. 1,900 theaters?
No, it's less than that.
Less than that. Okay, well, good, America. 1,500.
Less than that. And I'll give you one more guess.
1,000 theaters?
Okay, it's more than that. It's somewhere in between. It's 1,200 theaters.
Okay, I mean, all right. I guess the whole time I was watching it, I was just thinking, how do you market this? Like, what is the audience for this movie? A question we will keep coming back to, I'm sure.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on that we'll get into over our trailer game in the mini transmission, because I remember the trailer for this. This had an estimated budget of $25 million because, okay, I just want to remind you and our listeners, we're in 1994 territory. The further back in time we go, the less reliable our box office information is.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we're dealing with a completely different economy and industry for marketing films. And therefore, I don't think we can accurately speculate on what the marketing budget for this was.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's also less of a salient point when you're doing a movie like this, which is not. This is not like a blockbuster movie. This was never going to be a movie that was going to have any sort of like Godzilla 1998 level marketing campaign. There was not The Road to Wellville tie-in gordita at Taco Bell.
That's true.
Maybe there should have been. I mean, certain
God, why?
I'm just certain Taco Bell items seem to, achieve some of the aims that Dr. Kellogg had.
Listen, I have no stake in Taco Bell, and I'm sure Taco Bell doesn't also have any stake. But I just want to say, I've never had that problem going to Taco Bell, and that accusation is hurled at them a lot. I just want to be the one person out there representing, hey, it doesn't happen to everybody.
Great. Landon, I mean, that's good of you, man. Well, way to stand up for the good people at Yum Brands. They need all the friends they can get these days.
All right, so we can't speculate on the marketing budget, but this debuted. Well, hold on. Let me go into. I'm gonna start shifting this around. This grossed domestically on a $25 million budget, $6.5 million.
Well, okay. Well, that's not a lot of money compared to the amount of money they spent. So,
and since we're going back in time, 1994. And because we encountered this with Lightning Jack as well. There is either minimal or unreported amounts of international box office for this. So I don't know that this was shown across seas. If it was, we don't have those numbers. They were never compiled. It's just lost to time. We don't have that info.
One thing we can say with some certainty is that probably Paul Hogan was not embezzling the foreign box office receipts for this movie the way he did with Lightning Jack.
Do we know that? Do we know that for sure?
You know what? Actually, I guess we don't. He is pretty wily. Maybe he found a way.
So that brings the total box office with an asterisk close to $6.5 million. Okay. I'd say, you know what? Just to be charitable, let's round up to $7 million. That's still a considerable loss in profits.
Yeah, that really is. But I can't say I am at all surprised. It's really just beautiful that anybody ever signed off on the money for this movie to be made. Like a movie for the money to be spent on the look of the film, how it is shot, the sets, the costumes. I mean, let's just celebrate the fact that these really gifted costume designers and set designers were able to all kind of go play.
I'm all about celebrating that. This film does have a distinction, though, and it is entering into the pantheon of just rarefied air here on Movie Memory Machine. Are you laughing at rarefied air? Is that the level at the jokes we're making this episode?
Why do you automatically assume that that's why I'm laughing at it? The combination of words rarefied air sounds pleasant. It's like cellar door. Can I not just take joy at the English language? Are you Dr. Kellogg trying to deny me the most basic pleasures in life? Really?
I gotta talk to you about masturbating later.
I've heard of it, Landon. I'm familiar with the activity. Thanks, though.
Do you know what makes this distinctive?
What makes it distinctive? Is it perhaps numero quattro in the box office?
No, even more rarefied than that.
What makes it rare?
This is one of the few films, along with The Rocker, that doesn't crack the top 10 when it debuts.
Oof. Ouch. That is So Anthony Hopkins, just 3 years after Silence of the Lambs, not getting those butts in those seats like he used to.
That's correct. This opens at number 12.
Oof. Yeah. I'm excited for our discussion, but I'm also excited to get together next week and watch that trailer, because I bet there's answers to some of the questions I've got.
Well, are you curious as to what was in theaters? I'll do the top 5.
Yeah, give me the top 5, because I'm wondering, this was sort of an auspicious year and an auspicious time of year for a lot of movies that I have a personal stake in. So let's hear them.
All right, sorry, I have an update. I was looking at the wrong chart.
Oh, Oh no. Oh, Landon.
I the chart I was looking at was the daily box office, and not the weekend box office. So, Road to Wellville actually does crack the top 10.
Oh, okay. Is there a kind of cereal you can eat that makes you better at interpreting box office statistics? Because that is something that I think we could use on this show.
Box O's. That's just a first pass. Just a first.
This is a bad version, but maybe call them Boxos.
Is it worse than Perfo?
Perfo is pretty bad. You could at least call them Officeos or like Hollywoos. I don't know.
Hollywoos. Ooh, I'd eat some of those.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
Sorry about that. Road to Wellville comes in number 5 at the box office in its opening weekend. I am apologies for that one. Sorry, folks.
Okay. But what are the other ones at the box office? Let's talk about more stuff, and then it'll dilute the fact that we were wrong about some stuff.
Absolutely. Let's just go through the top 5. Coming in also in its first week. So this is a head-to-head Road to Wellville going to the Stargate.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me more people wanted to watch a movie about aliens and spaceships and ancient Egypt for some reason than this movie. Interesting.
That's what I was seeing that weekend for sure.
Was it a good time?
It was a good time. It still is a good time. I stand by that film.
Yeah, Stargate, good fun. The thing that really bugs me about that movie is when he is in the control center and he takes the permanent Sharpie and is drawing on the guy's monitor with it to figure out the thing about the Stargate. My biggest memory of the movie, as a child, as an adult, is just like, oh god, he's fucking up that screen. They're gonna have to get a new screen.
After what you told us in the Simone episode about your dad's reaction to a hard drive on a beach, you are your father's son.
You know what? He and I were both just munching on toast and complaining about how technology is being treated in movies. It was lively times in the Caps household.
All right. Just speeding through for no particular reason, this top 5. Number 2 in its second week is Pulp Fiction. Number 3 is The Specialist with Stallone and Stone, I think. Isn't that Sharon Stone? And they're doing a jungle. They're doing a jungle sniper. Isn't that what's going on?
Yeah. No, I love to do a jungle sniper, especially if Sharon Stone is there.
I haven't seen that one, but I seem to remember that's what that was about. And then Love Affair, starring Warren Beatty and Annette Bening.
Wow, that's quite a pairing.
Yeah.
And then you can see that, or you can see Road to Wellville, and most people chose any of the other options.
I will say, coming in 9th in its 17th week, Forrest Gump.
Oh man, still in the fight. I feel like it was probably a deleted scene from that movie is Forrest Gump inventing cornflakes.
When he goes back in time?
I don't know, man. Why not? I mean, that probably happened in the sequel.
All right, this was in theaters for 4 weeks. We talked about the box office take. It was pulled due to low attendance. Is that any surprise? Also had it was critically panned, except by one man who championed this film, and we'll get to him in a bit.
Oh, did we watch the same video as part of our research process?
We probably did.
Did I copy the link for no reason because you presumably already have it? Okay, well, let's go on.
German, what was your experience with the Road to Wellville before today's episode?
Well, obviously I was a young toast-loving boy in 1994, so I wasn't really up to date on what raunchy comedies were out in theaters. But
5? You were 5 when this came out?
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah, I'm about to turn 6, in fact.
Yeah, okay.
But I do remember being older, probably in middle school, and watching Comedy Central, and this was a movie that they would show on there.
Really?
Yeah, and
this does not seem like a Comedy Central movie. Like, they showed PCU on repeat forever.
I think this might have been a late night thing. This might have been like, we gotta fill 24 hours with comedy, and we made the wise decision to cancel Mystery Science Theater. So smart of us to do that. So, a Road to Wellville, I guess.
All right.
But I can't imagine that the broadcast cut of Road to Wellville is particularly long, since they have to cut around a lot of asses.
I don't know. They probably cut around the boobs, because there's a butt in PCU, and they showed that on Comedy Central.
Wow. Man, I was watching the wrong things on Comedy Central. Although, to be fair, I also didn't watch this on Comedy Central. I mainly just remember them airing promos for the movie and me looking at it with my child, 12-year-old brain and thinking, I don't feel like I need to see it. I don't need to see that in my life. That's probably nothing in there interests me.
So you have not seen it before this week?
I have not seen it. I was familiar with it, but I had not seen it. Had you seen it?
I have seen it, and familiar with the source material too. Being from Michigan,
sure,
you learn growing up, the things that happen in your state, and being the home of Kellogg's is well known to literally everybody who lives there.
Yeah,
everybody know about. Oh wait, hold on. You know what? Do you feel that, Truman?
What? Wait, what is this? What am I feeling?
Another Kellogg trivia fact is coming down our way.
Oh God. Okay, I thought that was my electric underwear vibrating, but I guess not. I guess that's a different thing.
John Harvey Kellogg had the Battle Creek Sanitarium that is in this film existed. All of this mostly based on true fact. But John Harvey Kellogg also claimed that meat and spicy foods overstimulated the body and should be avoided in favor of bland vegetarian diets. Truman, I guess cheese technically is vegetarian.
Yeah, it in fact literally is vegetarian.
So you had a bland vegetarian diet growing up with that piece of toast and Tillamook.
I was eating stuff besides just toast. It's not like I'm some little toast freak who every meal is only toast. That was just a breakfast thing. I ate quite a lively diet with meat in it for my other meals. So
I would argue, though, if you are a little kid only having a piece of toast for breakfast, I think that still qualifies you as a little toast freak. But I'm not here to split hairs.
Okay, that's also the name of my debut rap album. So now, what is it about Battle Creek, Michigan, though? Like, why is it that, because, like, in some just, like, loose research I did for this, it seems like there were a lot of health sanitariums there. What is it about Michigan that makes you guys so healthy? Like, why did they pick that place?
It's not. I'm just going off instinct here. I don't have any actual research. This is all alleged and speculation. I'm going to say maybe one of the least healthy states that exist.
I can think of
sort of some places in the South.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. Throw that caveat in there. So okay. So we don't know what it was that Dr. Kellogg liked so much about Battle Creek. Why he felt like that was the place to be healthy.
Well, I don't have, again, the extensive history on this, but Battle Creek is on the western side of the state, so it was opposite side of the state that I lived on. That's where Grand Rapids is. There's more, I think, channels to Lake Michigan and, commerce with Chicago and Milwaukee. So there's just more of that kind of opportunity, the same way that, like, Detroit is on, that lake. Oh my God, my brain just blanked out what lake is on the other side of the state. Truman, what's happening to me?
Did somebody drug your afternoon cereal? I mean, could it just be that maybe Battle Creek is located in the least masturbatory part of the state? Like, just there's nothing at all alluring there, and it's just impossible to get all horned up?
Can we talk about how ironic it is that Michigan is shaped like a hand?
Yeah. Yeah, and blackout. I don't think we can top that.
All right. Oh, where do we even want to start with this weird old film?
But okay, I'm sorry. I think we got sidetracked, though, from you had seen it before in theaters?
Oh, yes.
On video?
Yes.
More than once?
So, being huge into Saturday Night Live and Wayne's World, anything that had Dana Carvey in it kind of pinged my radar. So, yes, I'd seen Clean Slate and a number of other weird early Dana Carvey films. So I was aware of this and was like, that was probably the only reason I wanted to see it. Didn't see it in the theater, obviously. I wasn't way too young. I was 12, but HBO showed this over and over and over again. So I don't know that I ever sat through it all the way through, but I definitely saw this movie in its entirety in chunks over like a summer.
It seems really like, based on what I have heard from people in roughly your age group on podcasts, it is HBO bought the rights to The Road to Wellville and The Hudsucker Proxy in 1994, and just those were the two movies that were on for a long time.
Yeah.
So many people, one of those two movies constantly on.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And they did that with a lot of their films. Like, nowadays, when they get a film, they add it to their just added, and it's like, oh, cool, the new A24 movie is on, HBO this weekend, and then it just, like, it stays in their library, but it's really no different than, like, when you can't watch their library on demand, they're just showing you, like, oh, this is what we just added. Of course, you've probably watched the Hudsucker Proxy 10,000 times already, so now we have something new to add to our slate. Let's do that instead of the Hudsucker Proxy.
I get. Listen, everybody who knows me knows that I'm going to say, no, put me down for another 10,000 Hudsucker Proxies. Let's hit 20,000.
You wouldn't give up one Hudsucker Proxy viewing experience. So 9,999 for one view of Road to Wellville, just out of curiosity.
I mean, well, it depends how old I am. Like, again, if I'm a child and you tell me, well, there's boobs and butts, and even some of those butts are female butts, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe I'd give up one.
Well, granted, okay, you were younger than me. Let me just say, at 12, a movie about the hula hoop corporate industry versus a sex comedy where you're going to see a boob or a butt, that's a no-brainer. I would watch this film 100 times over the Hudsucker Proxy at 12 and be bored out of my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Landon, maybe you just weren't eating enough toast. Maybe that's the key. So this movie bored you, though, when you would see it on HBO. It was just a thing where it's like there's nothing else on, so I guess let's watch Matthew Broderick get some more enemas.
I don't think it bored me. Maybe it was more just like, I don't know if you can, like, put yourself in the mindset of being a kid that just doesn't understand what's going on. It's not like a boredom, really. It's just like you lose interest. It's you lose interest not out of boredom, just out of, I don't get what's happening.
Yeah, this was me as a kid when I would have nothing to watch but MASH, and I'd just be like, oh God, it's a war, but there's no fighting, and it's just sex jokes. God.
So that was my experience with The Road to Wellville before watching this episode.
Okay, I mean, I think I have a way into this. I think I have a place to start.
Okay, 40 minutes in, let's start.
I think that an alternate title for this movie that would be perhaps more descriptive would be Shitting, Farting, and Coming. I think that really is going to give the audience a much more accurate picture of what every scene in this movie is ultimately about.
Yeah, this does not skimp on any bodily fluid.
There's not a lot of urine, I guess.
There's no blood either. There's talk of urine.
Yeah, true. There's Schrodinger's urine. Yeah, I guess I don't recall seeing any blood.
No
so
blood.
Actually, I guess it does skimp on two of the major bodily fluids, really.
Which is blood.
And urine. I mean, there could be more urine, I guess.
It sounds like
yeah, this is every German's complaint after leaving I don't know. I don't want to go any further with that. Yeah, it's just, I was going into this, and indeed, from the very first scene, which is Anthony Hopkins in full character as Dr. Kellogg, who has big buck teeth and glasses, like Teddy Roosevelt glasses, and a thick mustache and bald, and he's like...
Yeah, he's doing Bugs Bunny playing Colonel Sanders as Teddy Roosevelt.
It's multiple layers of method acting from Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah.
You thought it was amazing when he dressed up as a pretty lady. You won't even believe it when he goes to the Road to Wellville. But it's him sitting on
Wellville. I was supposed to go to Albuquerque.
He made a wrong turn, and now he's getting fitted for a chastity belt. It's really a sad sad turn of events. But Dr. Kellogg, with like the second thing we see in the movie, first thing we see is a bunch of women standing outside doing laugh therapy to Oompa band music. But then as the opening credits are playing, it's just him in this outrageous makeup and costume with this kind of thick, fast, rapid fire accent on a chair doing this weird pulley-based weightlifting with both of his feet in like tanks full of frothing liquid, and he's talking to a group of reporters all about bowel movements and how important it is to take a dump every day, and how he's been talking to the Bronx Zoo and they're going to send him specimens of all the finest orangutan dung, and I'm going to say I see this immediately and I'm like, okay, well, this is a lot, but maybe it's not all going to be like this. Maybe this is just the movie kind of like making a statement and then it's going to pull back on this, and that's not the case.
Truman, okay, we did this in our Recruit episode. I have the script here in front of me, and I can give this a whirl. This
You've
little
got
monologue he gives at the beginning.
Yeah, no, do it actually, and I want to hear this.
Sir, how often should one exonerate one's bowels? One should never, ever interrupt one's desire to defecate. I have inquired at the Bronx and London zoos as to the daily bowel evacuation of primates. Not once, twice, or 3 times, sir, but 4. At the end of an average day, their cages are filled with veritable mountains of natural health. And sex? Sex is a sewer drain of a healthy body, sir. Any use of the sexual act other than procreation is a waste of vital energy. Wasted seeds are wasted lives.
Let me jump in and take a turn at this really quick, because I just know the audience is loving it.
Yeah, okay.
The liver is the only thing standing between the smoker and death. Also, certain other things have to be avoided, like feather beds and romance novels, and the touchings of one's organs. Masturbation is the silent killer of the night, the vilest sin of self-pollution. It is the sin of Onan.
Neither of us, I think, are getting cast in this movie.
No, we're not. I mean, but, we also couldn't do Lecter. I mean, we're just not on his level. I'm gonna say, though, I might be the only one. I actually really enjoy Anthony Hopkins' performance in this movie. I think it's really fun. I think this movie is dumb and the character is not very deep, but just watching him do this shit is kind of fun for me.
It's kind of the quandary of the movie, isn't it? It's not good. It's not hooking into anything, but it is a choice.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What is he conveying? I don't have a fucking clue, but I've never seen anything like it.
It's really like he's having so much fun, and I think he's definitely trying to kind of say, hey, I know you guys all remember me as the serial killer. I can be goofy too. And
you might be onto something with that. I will contest though, because one of my notes was this movie looks kind of painful to make. I don't think anyone was really having fun making this movie.
Do you think they were really putting those things up Matthew Broderick's butt? I don't think so. I think that was trick photography and Hollywood magic.
Short of that, I mean, you're constantly in a state of undress, or like in muck or water, or like it's raining on you, or you're talking about shit, you're getting shit thrown at you.
True.
And I should have started this episode here. I think I might be one of the least scatological people alive. I don't like fart jokes, really. I cannot stand, like, the actual filth of the human body grosses me out. And so,
of course.
I had a problem with this movie on a visceral level at times.
And you knew from the get-go that you were going to have a problem with it. Like, basically from minute 1 of the movie, it's like,
that.
I'm going to be fighting an uphill battle here.
It says it on the tin. I can't hold it against it. I'm just acknowledging, like, I'm not the person to be commenting on this as if it's a funny thing because it's gross to me.
I'm gonna say it doesn't say it on the tin because the movie was not called Shitting, Farting, and Coming, even though it should have been.
Road to Shitville.
I mean, that's probably the New York Post headline for the review of this. Either that or the Chode to Smellville, which would have been mine. I am an appreciator of a solid fart joke, like if it's a good one, and I think that's sort of the missed opportunity of this movie. Is I think that there's a lot of fun to be had with a movie that kind of contrasts the formalities and social pretensions of rich people in the early 20th century with the inherent grossness of having a human body and the things that come out of it. Like, and I feel like there's a way to do this movie where, like, that is kind of, yes, surface level. They are at this resort that seems to be entirely dedicated to taking shits. And then, but then it's like, you kind of put that out up front, and then you get deeper into, like, well, why are these people actually here? They are they are broken in various ways, and they have convinced themselves that doing gross stuff to their butts is what's going to fix them. And so, like, I think there is a way to have a movie that is both vulgar but also insightful and actually kind of interrogates the human condition. And this movie just sort of, like, forgets that second part and is like, but what about more poop?
Yeah, and there are ways to do that, and maybe we'll get into those in our 5-4. Stay tuned, folks.
Huzzah.
That said, the ones that even do it well, I have to acknowledge, like, I don't want anything to do with them. Like, I appreciate the point you're making. I don't want to be privy to it. Tell me about it afterward.
Yeah. Wait, tell me about the movie afterwards, or tell me about the pooping afterwards?
I don't I don't want anything to do with all that stuff.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and look, this movie makes a pretty good case against it, because it is, well, they set up so much story going into it. You know, they've set up these characters, and, you know, there's Matthew Broderick and his wife who have come to the Battle Creek Sanitarium to be with Dr. Kellogg and, like, receive his treatments. And as you learn a little bit about them, I mean, like, I see this opening scene with Dr. Kellogg, and I'm like, okay, movie, you're taking some swings. I'm excited to see where this goes. We meet Matthew Broderick and his wife, and I'm like, okay, she's really psyched on the clinic. He isn't really into it, and their relationship is in kind of a rocky place. And then as the movie goes on, you learn kind of about half an hour in that, like, oh, Matthew Broderick's character was a raging drunk, and he was very neglectful of his wife, Bridget Fonda, during her pregnancy, and then by the time he'd sobered up, she'd had a miscarriage, and then also part of how she got him to kick alcohol was that she put these, like, sedatives into his coffee to get him to fall asleep before he could go to bars, but then it turns out they had opium, so she got him addicted to heroin, and now he's in, like, really terrible health because he's been, like, going through all these heroin withdrawals, and his stomach is all fucked up. So, like, he's coming to the resort with her, this place where initially she would go on her own to recover from the miscarriage. Now he's coming with her, and they're like these two have done, like, unforgivable things to each other and are trying to move forward. And I'm like, okay, this is genuinely interesting. I really want to see what these two go through. And they go through some scatological pratfalls, and then they go home.
Yeah. There is one pratfall in here that I can't wait to draw attention to, but you were talking about backstory, and I just want to state for the record, as I usually do, I read the book for this. I read the book
tell
this
me
is
about
based
that.
on.
Yeah, tell me about the book. I'm interested to know if the book was better.
The book is exactly the same, actually.
What?
I mean, it's...
How many butts in the book?
A lot. The movie's truncated a little bit. You know, it needs to clean up the edges a bit because it's a long book, but it's very faithful. And even to the tone of it, it's a really kind of irreverently written book. Like, it feels like the book was written by a Coen brother in a way.
Yeah.
So,
but like
it's
like the reject third Coen brother who isn't very talented, perhaps.
Yes, exactly.
Dwayne Coen.
Written by T.C. Boyle, an author who I seem to remember growing up seeing his books everywhere. And then when I went to go look for this book for this episode, I had a hard time finding it anywhere, but eventually did.
Okay. And so I take it you're not a huge fan of the book, or
I feel the same way about the book as I do about this movie, which is it was unlike anything I've ever read or experienced, and then there's a certain drop-off point for me where I'm like, when do I stop losing interest here? And I've been trying to pinpoint. I watched this movie twice now. I read the book. I was like, what is the point where I'm like, okay, I'm done with this?
Yeah.
Because it happens, and it happens hard for me.
Yeah. I have one specifically that's been sticking in my craw. What's your drop-off point?
It's somewhere right after people start dying.
Yeah.
So like somewhere, this movie is an hour and 55 minutes, and people start dying at like the hour and 5 minute mark.
Strange.
And somewhere after that, it gets all of the splintering storylines, because there's John Cusack's storyline as well.
For some
start to
reason.
diverge and come back together, and I'm just like, what's going on? Why is he throwing shit at people? Why is that gross? I don't care. That's flashbacks and like, okay, now we're going into a weird sex therapy thing when we were, it's too many things.
Too many things.
This is my one takeaway review of this movie, and I'll never say this about another movie. I know that.
Okay.
There are too many shenanigans. This movie has too many shenanigans.
There are... You can definitely feel them, like, at times running out of ideas for how to end a scene, and they just pull the shenanigan lever. Like, there are two different scenes late in the movie with John Cusack where he walks into a room and someone gives him some bad news that they like, that he's in trouble with them and owes them a bunch of money, and John Cusack stands there for a minute and then turns and dramatically runs out of the room and is chased out of the way while music goes... And it's like, fucking... Like, they do it twice in, like, 15 minutes, and it's like, movie, you can't do that. You get one.
So between the two, I guess 3 storylines, there's just like none of them, they're all playing the similar kind of weird off note. And so like I either want less storylines or more focus, or just it's just too many shenanigans, too many people playing the same note.
And they're not even good.
You're the marching band person. What year, what grade of marching band is this where no one is playing the same note or even really the same song?
Well, that was probably many years of my high school marching band. Certainly, everyone's out of step as well. It is very strange the way that this movie has gone to all the effort of representing this world and then building nothing actually inside it besides poop and fart and cum jokes. Like, it's really almost something revolutionary about wasting that much of Hollywood's money for no reason.
Yeah. There is kind of a weird anarchist vibe to this film that I appreciate. So I fall on so many weird places with it.
Yeah. I agree with you. That is a really good drop-off point of when there is this point where out of nowhere 4 characters die in rapid succession, and Matthew Broderick sees all this happen, and he kind of seems to hit this breaking point with all of the indignities that he's suffered there, and he runs outside and he's been in a room where 2 people he was with got electrocuted because they're dipping their asses in electrified water, and then he runs outside and he sees that MVP Roy Brocksmith has had a heart attack, and he yells and he also finds out that Lara Flynn Boyle, who he had been sleeping with, has died, and that...
She dies 2 hours after he has sex with her.
I mean, and that doesn't come up again at all in the movie, and no. I mean... Like, when that happened, I was like, oh, great, here we're going to get some catharsis, here we're going to get some character stuff. No, the woman I've been cheating on my wife, who recently had a miscarriage with, died? Well, I don't know, I'm going to go eat a steak, I guess. But he runs outside, he sees all the bodies, and is like, if this is the healthiest place in the world, why do people keep dying? And then he runs off, he leaves the resort, but then, like, 2 scenes later, he just comes back, and he's drunk. He's drunk, but he comes back and everyone's kind of mad at him. And then Dr. Kellogg is mad and he says, I'm going to give you an operation on your intestines to clear out your kink. And I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. And then he has the operation, and then it's just like he seems to be fine. And then he just stays at the resort and keeps doing scatological, weird, horny resort stuff. And it's like, what did any of this mean then? Why does it matter that people died? That's a good point to drop off.
Let's take a step back for a second. I think we need to bring listeners in. If you didn't watch this movie, I think we need to really paint out the setting here. What is it like at the Battle Creek Sanitarium? You walk in through those front doors. What's your experience? Truman, you are now a resident here at Battle Creek Sanitarium. What do you see?
Well, okay, what do I see? Well, the first you hear a band going boom, bop, 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 because that's the only music in this movie. You walk in and you see a lot of hardwood floors, high ceilings. There are servants and nurses dressed in white catering to people. Everybody here is kind of like the first class on the Titanic crowd. Like, basically imagine all the people who Kate Winslet gets on board the Titanic with. That's your gang.
Yep.
What?
Oh, Truman, you rang the bell.
Uh-oh.
We have another John Harvey Kellogg trivia.
Oh, was he on the Titanic? Did Dirk Pitt raise him?
Here is a little bit of Titanic trivia for John Harvey Kellogg.
Okay.
John Harvey Kellogg was not on the Titanic.
Ah, too bad. I was wondering, did he take a shit so big and healthy that it sunk the boat? Is that what happened?
But one of his biggest business and ideological rivals was on the Titanic.
Wait, was there some, like, super pro-masturbation guy who died on the Titanic? That the king of the Gooners went down?
W.T. Steed was a British newspaper editor, and he was a spiritualist. He was a reformer. We didn't mention that that John Harvey Kellogg was a 10th day at what's
seventh day. You're giving them three
seven?
extra
How
days.
many fucking days are there in a week? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Depends on your interpretation of the Bible, I guess.
Or Beatles songs. They're Seventh Day Adventist, which really like shapes his ideology, but he takes it like kind of like Julianne Moore in Carrie. He takes his religion and then just kind of like goes ape shit bananas with it. Ape shit, also something that John Harvey Kellogg knows a thing or two about.
Yeah, and bananas, something that he probably purees into some of the enemas that he gives to people at his resort.
Yeah. Anyway, W.T. Steed like mocked Kellogg in his newspaper about his obsession with bowel movements.
It was like he was writing a review of The Road to Wellville. So, wait, are you...
And apparently one of the Titanic survivors went to go to the sanitarium for help.
Oh, so so this person met W.T. Steed, and then Steed died, and he was like, okay, clearly Kellogg had a hand in this. I need to go get on the winning team here.
Something like that, yes.
Wow. But so yes, you go to the resort. You're around these rich early 1900s types, kind of the equivalent of like yuppies or like, you know, tech hipster types today. And you're being served all kinds of like weird food in these big dining halls, and Dr. Kellogg is parading around dressed in, you know, some kind of three-piece suit with his cane, always going on about some shit or another, literally. And a lot of your day is going into different medical treatments, which are either enemas or you're soaking in baths full of milk or oatmeal or mud.
This is what I wanted to get into, is like, let's paint out the procedures, the inventions, because John Harvey Kellogg was an inventor of many things, particularly medical devices.
Yeah, because like if you've seen like old black and white footage from like people at weight loss camps where they're like hooked up to things that just jiggle them around a whole lot, like a lot of kind of I don't know, like operating theaters and stuff where people are like, you know, working out or in some cases going to the bathroom in front of a crowd of people who are then analyzing what comes out.
There's electrotherapy, there's hydrotherapy, there's physiotherapy, machines for all of these things, both for exercising, for examination, for observation, just like every possible device you can think of exists here. Chastity belts, different types of enema machines. There is a device you stand in, it jiggles you around, and you have to be naked for this. So your feet are strapped in.
It doesn't work if you're not naked.
Yeah. Well, because your feet are strapped in, you're jiggled, and then a kind of magnifying glass is then pushed up to your genitals so that the doctor can look through it with extreme detail.
Yeah. This is a scene. There are times in this movie when it's just like, was this just does writer and director Alan Parker have like some kind of obsession with humiliating and degrading Matthew Broderick? Because like a lot of really like humiliating things happen to him. But in this scene in particular, Matthew Broderick comes into the room with this machine. You know, Dr. Kellogg leads him in. There's a panel of doctors waiting there watching him, and he has Matthew Broderick take a shit into a tray And, like, by the way, they wear the weirdest underwear in this movie. I know I'm all over the board, but he's got, like, this, like, it's like two white handkerchiefs tied together over your crotch and your butt.
It's like a cloth baby diaper for an adult.
What health value does that serve? Why can't you just wear normal underpants? They had those then.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something about constriction on the bowels.
Okay.
Maybe I don't have any evidence on this, but maybe John Harvey Kellogg was against elastic.
That seems like the sort of thing he'd have a problem with.
Yes.
The point is he gives them this stool sample, and then Kellogg has him stand fully naked in this jiggly machine while he like puts a magnifying glass right up to Matthew Broderick's crotch and is telling him why he should never have sex unless it's for procreation. And it's just like beats like this are just played again and again and again, and it's just Matthew Broderick being sort of like vexed by these awful situations and then going along with it.
Now this is why this is actually it wasn't this scene, it was a little bit later. I think it was a Laura Flynn Boyle scene, but this is where I wrote the note that this is the type of movie that Truman would be stuck in.
Humiliating things happening to me constantly.
No, just like if we were going to make a comedy of Truman Caps,
it's my life.
Your vibe is let's get comedy out of making you uncomfortable and humiliated.
Yeah, this is true. Remind me never to go into any sort of creative endeavor with you, since I guess I can imagine which way you're going to take it.
Listen, I recognize that, and I decide to humiliate you over wigs rather than making you strip naked.
I appreciate that. That is truly an act of love. No, you're right. I mean, I feel like I did definitely identify with Matthew Broderick throughout. Let me be clear. I think Matthew Broderick is a huge piece of shit in this movie. I identify with him being put off by weird new agey health guru cures and feeling sort of too awkward to leave or say no to any of them. And then I guess I have trouble identifying with him as it goes on, and he does more and more monstrous things. But yeah, this definitely would be my personal hell to have to be at this place.
And I think, isn't that like the core of some of these comedies? You put the Niles Crane into this situation. Yeah. He would fit very well.
Yeah. And I guess it's just, okay, that's a really solid setup for your movie of like watching this guy and watching him hit his breaking point. But short of him briefly being freaked out that a bunch of people have died, he never hits his breaking point. He just keeps subjecting himself to more humiliations.
And it doesn't seem to be the point a lot of the time either. Like, it's kind of the basis of the comedy, but there's no real central character here. Like, Bridget Fonda is given just as much time, really, as Matthew Broderick. So is John Cusack to a degree, and so is Anthony Hopkins. So it's like, I think what bothers me is, like, I don't really respond to this sort of movie. Like, the very best version of it, to me, oddly enough, is a Coen Brothers movie called The Serious Man.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just, like, but it's the point that this is one man kind of facing the kind of energies of the world. Things are actively working against him, and how does he find some sort of solace in that? This isn't. This is just someone that's uptight in all of these kind of incredibly weird circumstances that at a certain point I'd just be like, I love my wife, I'm sorry of what happened, I want things to get better, but like, this is too much. It's too much. I would bow out. And I was gonna say after one enema. I think it would be like just before one enema, right before it happens. I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good, I'm out. Bye.
Well, and this is what I liked about learning about like the really kind of like tragic history between him and his wife. It's like, okay, that's why he's not bowing out before one enema. It's like what I'm taking into it at first is like, he must feel so horrible about having been so deficient as a husband that he is like subjecting himself to these humiliations almost as a form of like, I don't know, penitence or something. And I'm like, great, let's run with that. But no, it's not, all of these humiliations are not in service of anything about him. And he's at this place, And like one of the things that he's complaining about to Dr. Kellogg is that he's incredibly horny all the time. And he's, when he first arrives, he has this very beautiful nurse, and there's this scene where he's like picturing his nurse naked and doing double takes, and then she's got clothes on again, and the same with other, beautiful women there. And then he's like, he meets Laura Flynn Boyle, and she propositions him, and pretty quickly they start sleeping together, and there's never any sort of like look into Matthew Broderick of like, I mean, do you feel like, oh shit, I've failed my wife again, I feel even worse now?
Yeah.
What does this mean to you? It means nothing to him, and it's just there for like, it's funny they're having sex.
What's weird about that too is that once that comes to fruition, the pendulum doesn't, there's not even really a pendulum. Like,
no.
Once he decides to leave, and he meets John Cusack at the bar, they get drunk, he orders a burger with bacon, like, he's going off the rails, right? He's going back to normie life. And I feel like in another story, that would have been a moment of, like, I'm reclaiming my manhood, right?
Yes.
But he doesn't, really. Like, it's a I'm coming back to the real world for a second, and then he goes back, and then he's just right back in it. So, like, there's really no commentary that happens of him getting a bit of autonomy and a spine for a second.
Yeah, there's nothing in terms of personal development for him from this. It is fully meaningless. It has no impact on his relationship with his wife or any of the other characters. And also, there's not even any sort of because the movie visually does a very good job of contrasting the health food and the pristine environment of the sanatorium with he goes to this restaurant, and there's all this really good footage, beautiful footage of like big hunks of red meat being like fire grilled and like, gravy ladled onto things. It's like early 20th century food porn, but the movie never tries to make any sort of statement about this lifestyle versus what he's preaching. Are these people happier? Are they healthier? Like, it doesn't have to, but it's not making any other points.
Okay, I'm checking myself here, and I'm wondering if being a vegetarian for so long has just painted my experience. Because I earmarked this. Mm-hmm. The film doesn't seem to me to be taking a stance in one direction or the other, because it makes the health food look as unappetizing to me as the quote-unquote normie food, the meat food. Like, you see a roasted pig head being moved around. You see there's a shot of the enema, when he gets his first enema, and she sticks it in and goes, oh, and it like does a smash cut to a beer being like dropped into like the liquid into the mug, and it's like equating the normal food with gross stuff to me. So like, it wasn't food porn at all. It was like, both things look disgusting, and I don't want to eat anything ever again.
I mean, I feel like I don't know if that choice is so much a commentary on anything as it is the editor being like, I'm a clever little boy. This is called match cutting.
Any of the depiction of the food, the meat food, the non-health food, did not look even remotely appetizing, or in a way that I thought was supposed to look appetizing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the litmus test for you. I mean, I thought that it looked appetizing. The Matrix. Yes. Joey Pants is in the restaurant with the agents, and he holds up the bite of steak. Does that look appetizing to you as a vegetarian?
It looks like it's supposed to be more appetizing. I can see the appeal of that steak bite, even though I wouldn't want it.
Okay.
Here, it just looks like, I don't know, grog, which I know is a drink, but like, it looks like it belongs in like a Bergman Middle Ages film.
Okay, yeah. Back to the Pizzolini or whatever you were talking about earlier.
Pasolini,
same thing. To me, it seemed like it looked really good, but maybe it's because I watched this before lunch.
Here's the litmus test.
Yeah,
and maybe this is where the line is drawn in the sand. Renaissance festivals. Are you appealed by the sight of a turkey leg?
I was just talking to a friend about this who's going to the Irwindale Renaissance Festival soon, and she was talking about how excited she was to have a turkey leg. And in the process of that conversation, I thought, you know what? I've heard multiple people say that, and I've never really wanted a turkey leg.
Is that because you're not into turkey, or is it because the whole thing looks like a disgusting ordeal?
It looks like an ordeal. I'm sure it would taste good, but window into me being Matthew Broderick in this movie, I'm mainly thinking about, like, I'm going to be outside, it's going to be hot, I'm going to be getting grease and stuff all over my face and my shirt, and what are they going to have, little paper napkins? I'm going to have to go wash my hands. So...
I guess what we've determined is that neither of us is able to speak with any authority as to whether or not there is commentary about either side of the food in this movie.
Maybe this movie is actually very deep and we're both way too shallow to understand it.
I'll be the first to admit that.
Can I ask a question about John Cusack?
Yeah, let's switch up to talking a different storyline.
Yeah. Why is John Cusack in the movie? What is he bringing to the table? What if not this? Seems like different movie.
Yeah, it 100% does not need to be there at hour and 55 minutes. I'm interested in that story.
Yeah.
Not in this movie, but I'm interested in that story. I want to see the Kellogg story about the rivalry and the brothers. I don't want to see the shit ordeal that Matthew Broderick has to go through.
Yeah, they really, like, there is so much interesting stuff to Kellogg, to the health food movement, to all the quackery and con artistry going on around this, and the movie just, like, weaves and dodges to not touch on any of those things. It just goes to find the poop, and only the poop.
And I feel like it's weird. This is another one of those weird contradictions of this movie. That storyline, I feel like, isn't given as much depth as the rest of the movie, but it is saying more, because it kind of starts with this kind of argument between John Cusack and Michael Lerner, who is his partner in Battle Creek, to start this cereal company based on John Cusack's aunt's money.
Yes.
And when he gets there and sees that the money is gone and Michael Lerner has spent it trying to make business connections, John Cusack is, enraged and says, "This you're stealing." And Michael Lerner says, "It's not stealing, it's capitalism."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a thesis. Let's explore that as a movie.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, because John Cusack and Michael Lerner are both varying degrees of con artist, and it's really just, we know there's this health food craze, we're going to make it. Well, Michael Lerner almost, undoubtedly, like, his character is a confidence man.
I think John Cusack isn't a confidence man, but he's an opportunist and an entrepreneur, which is easy to confuse with a con artist.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
But, their whole plan is like, okay, everyone is getting rich off health food breakfast cereals. Let's go to the town where all the health food breakfast cereals come from and make our own. And then, all of this going on. And it's like, I think that's a really interesting angle to take. And I also think that Michael Lerner is amazing in this. He is...
in everything.
Truly. I mean, you talk about a Coen Brothers guy. Here's a Coen Brothers guy. But he is his performance as this guy. I mean, folks, picture Paul F. Tompkins. He's playing Paul F. Tompkins in this movie. This is the most Paul F. Tompkins fucking role I've ever seen. He is this kind of dandy type, always wearing like a suit and a top hat, and he's always kind of, getting into trouble, but always kind of, I got a little too drunk last night, sort of ragtime, good time sleaze, which is very fun.
If there's one thing I do on this podcast before I die, it's to get Paul F. Tompkins to just do a quick line reading from The Road to Wellville.
Oh my God.
In multiple characters. I want him to do that opening monologue too.
He could really, like, a one-man show of this movie with just Paul F. Tompkins playing every role.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
See it.
I'd go see it. I'd put up the money behind it, and then Michael Lerner would steal it because he is not trustworthy. But Michael Lerner's character, who gives these, like, he is also kind of a verbose guy. He gives these big speeches. So, like, at one point, he says the line, "Health, the open sesame to the sucker's purse." So he very much views this endeavor, whatever John Cusack's motivations working with him are, he's like, yes, people are stupid, they're obsessed with health food right now, this is a great way to get rich. I feel like a better movie could still have the Kellogg stuff and this stuff, but it would elevate Michael Lerner's character to kind of be like this foil to who Anthony Hopkins is, because they're both very clearly con men, but at least Michael Lerner is like honest with himself about being a con man, and I think that would be a very interesting thing to explore in the movie.
When he says right now, you put in my mind an alternate version of this story where it's like Adam McKay does History of the World Part 3, capitalism origins, and it's just like different vignettes throughout the years of these trends that people are trying to jump on, where it's like, oh yeah, the health trend industry, we feel it right now in a big way. It's not new.
Yeah.
This has been going on since humans decided that they can improve their health.
Yeah. Here's Margot Robbie in a milk bath to explain to you how Dr. Kellogg's empire worked. Yeah, because you know, that's the other thing. There's so much room for commentary in this movie. This movie somehow feels a little bit more relevant today than it did then, because quackery and insane health bullshit has come so much more to the forefront and is currently dictating national health policy. Like,
all right. We get Paul F. Tompkins to play Michael Lerner.
Yeah.
We get Gwyneth Paltrow to play John Harvey Kellogg.
Instead of talking about bowel movements, it's just different types of vaginal eggs. It's the road to Eggville.
The potential for goop crossover is high.
There's a lot of goop in this movie, but none of it is the monetized form of goop, and that is a problem. Well, it's a problem for Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, like, I feel like all of this stuff with John Cusack, most of his scenes are just either him finding out that Michael Lerner has once again stolen a sum of money or not done the thing he said he's going to do for him, or it's him and Michael Lerner, and then eventually they team up with Dana Carvey's character, who is one of Kellogg's sons, to
adopted sons, one of 35.
Yes, the adopted sons, because Dr. Kellogg, let's be clear, does not fuck, because that's bad. But they're trying to like make this knockoff brand of cornflakes. So there's a whole lot of screen time dedicated to how bad their cornflakes taste. But then ultimately they kind of like do a mock-up version of they eventually release a product and put it out there. But then immediately after they release it, Dr. Kellogg finds out and sends a cease and desist order for like using his family name. And then it's like John Cusack gets arrested at the end of the movie and then manages to escape. But it's like, John Cusack, what was your plan? Like, you couldn't have foreseen that going to the town where this guy lives and setting up shop a mile down the road from him and selling cereal with his name on it wasn't going to, like, of course he's going to take legal action. You knew this was going to happen. Why are you surprised and, like, shocked and flummoxed by this?
Well, I think it's supposed to, not effectively, but I think it's supposed to show the naivety of getting into it. Any business, but also I don't think you can do business at that level without lawsuits. So like, you have to expect lawsuits going in, and you have to expect that you're gonna settle out of court and just be able to continue doing business as usual.
But he clearly didn't expect that. When he gets the letter, he's like, whoa, and then he has to run out of frame going bump, 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 while he's being chased by the lawyers.
What's missing here is, and to me it's like the truth is stranger than fiction, and that's like, I tried to look for a documentary on the Kellogg family, and I couldn't find one, because it's so, the closest I could find was the Drunk History sketch between Luke and Owen Wilson playing the Kellogg brothers, because John Harvey Kellogg didn't even invent Kellogg's. His brother did accidentally. Then John Harvey just kind of marketed it. John Harvey Kellogg, to what I understand, no interest in financial gain. He invented all of this stuff purely for his ideology.
He was just in it for love of the game of not masturbating.
Yes, that's exactly true. And I want to circle back to Dana Carvey and that side of the John Cusack storyline in a minute, but I want to veer into this territory because we're so far into this episode, and I don't think it's ever come up when talking about John Harvey Kellogg or, this movie. He was essentially a cult leader.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, you can say that, health gurus can veer into cult territory easily, but like there's a lot here, and this is what the mark of an effective cult leader, I think, is you tap into a logical frame of mind to solve a problem in someone's life, right? And all of these health things are rooted, like I have no doubt that he was a genius and was able to come up with all these things, but medical devices and the way he's looking at the science of things, the conclusions he's drawing is apeshit banana cuckoo. But
would you say you have to be a genius to come up with a cock ring with spikes in it, or just like kind of a twisted jigsaw type? I mean, is that really a useful medical device?
Well, here's just a few things that he invented that we still have to this day.
Okay.
Cornflakes.
Okay, well, that's the big one.
Peanut butter.
What? Wait, excuse me? Sometimes I put that on my toast.
Yeah. Yogurt enemas.
We're still doing those?
Vibrating chairs. The mechanical horse.
Okay.
Like in the 1980s when people would hang by their feet and do upside down hangs, the villains of any 80s movie.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And then just generally like popularizing the entire health industry, in addition to a number of his like insane medical devices that were, obviously discontinued, but introduced concepts that went into actual medical stuff that we still use to this day.
But the cruel irony of it is that he had such a massive impact on culture and society and health, but people are jerking off more now than they ever have been. So his biggest mission, he failed.
I can't even imagine John Harvey Kellogg in the age of internet porn. His head would explode.
Yeah, it's either his head would explode or he would be like so galvanized into like he would try to, like, he'd become Sarah Connor or something and try and like take out the power grid so nobody could be subjected to this stuff anymore.
God. My point being that like you have to tap into like those certain like solutions to real world problems that people are searching for at that time in order to bring them in.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with a lot of this. Like when this movie starts out and you were talking about the laughing exercises.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not in for laughing exercises, but like to like amp myself up before a performance or before doing something, doing like these big breathing exercises to fill your body, like that works. And well, it works for me. And I'm on board with a lot of it. The thing that then it transpires to that becomes culty is like, okay, now like lung capacity, good. Running, good. Running around in a circle around a tree with a bunch of other people, that tends to like veer a little bit into like collectivism and cult thinking. Like we're just all part of the herd and we better do it because it's just one little step towards crazy that like, well, I don't know. I guess nothing I've tried worked. Maybe running around a tree with a bunch of other people will do something.
I agree with you, but I love that you've settled on the example of people running in circles around a tree, which is like the least crazy thing anybody does in this movie.
It was just the first thing that comes up. It's like, I don't know, minute 30 seconds in this film is what you see that as.
Yeah. I'm leaving the cult the second the guy tells me to put my ass and balls into a vat of lightly electrified water. I'm like, you know what? No, thank you. I am leaving Guyana and going back to the United States.
Yeah.
No, I totally buy that. And again, that's, I think, another way that this movie has more relevance now is that also as cults have kind of become a bigger thing in many ways, and a lot of cults have kind of sprung out as offshoots from the health and wellness sector. It's like, yeah, this is the sort of thing that's always been a part of American society and would be a cool thing to explore.
John Harvey Kellogg would absolutely have his own like InfoWars channel.
Yeah, no, he would have some pretty spicy opinions about certain vaccines, e.g., all of them. And
he would just be an influencer of some sort.
I would download TikTok if there's somebody out there in full Anthony Hopkins makeup, like just doing Anthony Hopkins in this movie, but just like, hey there, fam! Talking to you today about good bowel movements. Like, I don't know. I'd watch those. I'd like and subscribe.
But back to Dana Carvey and the Cusack storyline. Dana Carvey is a Kellogg by name, not by blood.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there's value in his name by bringing him on as a partner, because that means that they can brand their cereal as a Kellogg's cereal and tap into the well-known health world of the Kellogg's name.
Yeah, exactly.
But how would you describe Dana Carvey in this movie?
I would
use
just
all of your senses.
Oh boy, by far, I've never been able to smell a role like I've smelled Dana Carvey in this film. I would describe Dana Carvey as understanding the assignment way too well, I think, because he is playing the kind of outcast adopted son of Dr. Kellogg, and we get a bunch of flashbacks during the movie, which I think are actually quite good, of like Dr. Kellogg trying to raise him as a little boy, and Dana Carvey's character as a young boy is like so defiant, and he never speaks but is just engaging in these little acts of rebellion, and it's like their entire relationship has been a battle of wills.
And we gotta say, it has to be pointed out, it must be, that is played by Jacob Reynolds. And if you want to talk about uncomfortable movies where someone's eating in a bathtub, that is otherwise known as Gummo.
Oh, that's the Gummo kid. Oh, fuck. Wow. This movie, this is pre-Gummo?
This is, just right before it.
Wow.
Gummo was 97, I want to say. Yeah, 97, so very shortly.
Got him kind of acclimated for really gross, uncomfortable films. But so Dana Carvey, as an adult, his character is just like a drunk. He is a creep. He is very dirty in every sense of the word. There is an early scene where Bridget Fonda is in a milk bath, and she's alone in the bathhouse, and then suddenly she sees these dirty feet behind like a screen or something, and Dana Carvey steps out, and he's like leering at her and talking about how, I'm Dr. Kellogg's son. I like to come here for money and to look at the naked ladies.
I don't like it.
He then begins taking his clothes off and gets in the shower, and it's a scene that could be funny if Dana Carvey wasn't so committed to playing this guy as incredibly creepy and disgusting.
Yeah.
Because all I'm feeling is fear in that moment. I'm like, oh my god, he is acting like a serial killer, and there's no one else in here, and I'm afraid for Bridget Fonda.
Yes, I don't even know what to say about him. I completely second and co-sign everything you said about him. He just, I needed a shower just looking. I actually think I did go brush my teeth after this movie because I couldn't stand looking at his teeth for too long.
This kind of dental sensitivity is why none of that cereal rotted your teeth out of your head back in the day.
You know what? I think my dentist says the same thing. This is where the book, I think, deviates, or the movie deviates from the book, or doesn't deviate from the book. This is where it consolidates most of the information from the book.
Yeah.
It goes into much more depth about their relationship, his and Kellogg's relationship.
Yeah.
The flashbacks, and we see the flashbacks here. They're like full chapters in the book. So when John Harvey is making young Dana Carvey, I can't remember the character's name. Georgie. When he's making young Georgie pick up his coat that he left on the floor.
Yeah. Why don't you hang your coat up on the hook? You must hang your coat up on the hook. It's so good. He's just yelling at him to do that.
There's a rhythm to it, a pacing to it, which, say what you will about the editing of this movie, it has a pace to it.
Yeah, it's good.
And you feel like, okay, coat on the floor, in his hand, up the stairs, on the hook, do it again, back down the stairs, on the floor, in his hand, up the stairs, on the hook. And in the book, it's just pages of this. And you go a little bit into the inner monologue of John Harvey, so you get some more insight into him never seeing him as a true son of his, and he almost looks at him as one of the organisms on the steak and the shit at the examination they do at the beginning of this movie. He's like, this is something, this child is obstructing the metaphorical bowels of my family.
Well, like, and I feel like the relationship between Dr. Kellogg and his son is also a very interesting relationship. Like that flashback with, he's to teach him a lesson about hanging his coat upon the hook and not simply throwing it on the floor. Kellogg makes him go up and down the stairs all day doing it, but then out of defiance, Georgie keeps doing it even when Dr. Kellogg is saying, you can go to bed now, you can go to bed, and he does it all night, up and down the stairs, just emotionlessly doing it, until finally Kellogg, goes crazy and comes out and just grabs the boy and begs him, please, just stop doing it, just go to bed, I'm so sorry I made you do this, please stop. And then emotionlessly, George just gets up, takes off his coat, throws it on the ground, walks into the bedroom. And I was psyched. I love that. I love, like, that this master of the universe, Dr. Kellogg, has this one fucking thing he's never been able to control. And, like, I'm ready for this battle of wills.
Yeah.
And we never get that. It's just his son is just kind of weird and gross around the sidelines of the movie.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say about the book is, like, it veers into supernatural territory. Because,
really?
like, this goes on for weeks. The repetition of this goes on for weeks. No one sees Georgie eat. No one sees him rest or sleep.
Whoa.
He's not saying it doesn't happen, but he's like, we watch him around the clock and no one has seen it. So we don't know how he's doing it. And he just seems to be tireless in his effort to, annoy me. But let's take Georgie and go back to the Cusack storyline and talk a little bit about the scene where they're trying to recreate the cornflake.
Yes, they are trying to match the recipe that Dr. Kellogg uses, because in addition to his resort, he also is selling cornflakes. Although that is they make barely anything of that in the movie. You got the Kellogg guy in your movie, and you barely talk about his cereal that he made.
Again, you're doing for all intents and purposes, a biopic of a real-life character, and instead of focusing on the interesting things that make him a figure of history, you're filling the frame with shit.
Yes.
It's a weird choice, is all I'm saying.
And look, and to be fair, like, I feel like everything I see in this movie, these all seem like real historical details about, like, I feel like there's basis and research for every single thing they're showing us, but just the fact that your research uncovered that, like, he would, like, give people enemas all the time doesn't mean you need to show us that in every scene. You can put other stuff in the movie. But so, yes, John Cusack and his operation, they get a former employee of Dr. Kellogg's to help them, and there's an extended scene of them trying a different bunch of batches of cornflakes that they've made, and they all taste really gross. So, and they're dumping them out in the barnyard of this not the barnyard, just a barnyard. Landon's ears perking up at the prospect that Wild Mike might be in this movie.
No, it's not Wild Mike, it's Wild Dana. Mike Myers sat this one out.
God, and really, Dana Carvey could have been a little less wild. But they're dumping out all the cornflakes, and then their cornflakes are so disgusting that even the pigs won't eat them. So, yeah, but then eventually, how do they even get cornflakes that they wind up selling? Do they just start buying Kellogg's cornflakes and then repackaging them as their own cornflakes?
They don't. They don't end up selling them. What they end up doing is filling up their perfo boxes that they had pre-made with shit and throwing them at the Wellville, the sanitarium people.
Well, no, but like Dana Carvey starts doing that at one point for no particular reason. But then what are they doing for the second half of the movie then if they haven't got any kind of product? Like, what do
Lawsuits.
They get served? What do they get served with the subpoena for? Like, if not for, like, selling a knockoff product? Like, Dr. Kellogg finds out that there's a counterfeit cereal going out under his name. Like,
I think it's just that they're trying to use the Kellogg name is all.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of creditors from the money that John Cusack is on the hook for that Michael Lerner spent. And so it's not you're selling something under false pretenses or anything. It's you owe us money.
Okay, so so basically they just fail to make a cereal, and that's their entire storyline in the movie.
But the American Graffiti coda to this, the loser coda to this.
The movie at the end, is showing the Where Are They Now pictures, and it shows this thing of like, oh, Charles Ossining, wound up inventing a form of sugary water that became very popular, and they called it Coke. But, like, that can't possibly... Like, the Coke guy was not in Battle Creek at the same time as the Cornflakes guy.
It's a fictional character. So
okay.
They just, again, playing fast and loose with history here.
Okay. At the risk of going in too many directions, this movie put me in mind in a major way of a movie that haunts me, George Clooney's Leatherheads. Because Leatherheads, the old-timey football movie, which I wrote about for our Patreon, is, it's also very extensively researched, trying to be a screwball comedy, wants you to be impressed with the quality of its costumes and its production design, and like, oh, look how wacky things were back in the early 20th century. And it has a bunch of moments at the end of a kind of where are they now thing where, like, oh yeah, the bad guy in this movie quit trying to be involved with corrupt football practices, and now look, there he is photoshopped into a picture with Babe Ruth, and like kind of like trying to place where all the characters went. They just both feel like movies that just get so high on their own supply in the research department that they forget to tell a story.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of stories, since we haven't even touched really on Bridget Fonda's, let's transition to that for a bit.
Yes.
Because it is the one that is the least focused to me. I shouldn't say that. It's not the least focused. It's the one that needs the most breadth to have to support its arc, and it isn't given the real time that it needs to go in the places that it does.
Yes. She has been coming to this clinic a lot in the wake of her miscarriage, and she believes very deeply in what Dr. Kellogg is doing, and believes very deeply that he can cure her husband. So she's coming in with a lot of stuff to deal with and to process, both her relationship with her husband and just her grieving of this baby that she's lost. And then, I mean, she kind of just... She really does most of the coming in the movie, if I may be so blunt. I mean, it's like everyone else is shitting, and then she's just sort of going down this rabbit hole of weird sexual therapies.
Yeah, let's back up a minute. I mean, yes, she's coming in with all of that, but it's with the stuff with Matthew Broderick is all backstory. And I feel like she's entering into this film. What's really at the forefront is the sexual problems between her and Matthew Broderick. Yes, all that other stuff is there, and I think motivating things to a degree, but it's more like Bridget Fonda and Matthew Broderick have very little screen time together in this. Yeah. As soon as they get into the sanitarium, couples cannot sleep together. They can't stay together because fornication is bad unless it's for procreation. So they go off into their own stories. Yeah. And Bridget Fonda's follows this arc of things aren't satisfying with my husband. Her buddy through the rest of this is Cameron Manheim from what's that cop show? What's that really popular Law and Order? Jesus, I almost got there. I almost said NYPD Blue, but
I mean that would have counted too. I mean, it's also a popular cop show.
Anyway, they're kind of the talking partners throughout this, and Cameron Manheim knows much more about sex, and let me rephrase that. Knows much more about female pleasure than she's kind of this access point to this new world of looking at sex. And not sex, pleasure. It is about pleasure specifically. Yeah. As is introduced pretty early on by this bicycle scene that plays like a commercial for female orgasms.
Well, they had to do a PR campaign. People weren't aware that they existed for much of the 20th century.
But she's going on and on about like she calls the bicycle seat like the leather something between your legs. She has very specific terms for this stuff, and she's constantly advocating that like sex with men sucks because it's all about their pleasure. Wait until you find out that sex can be enjoyable when women are given their due as well. And she introduces the idea of this doctor played by Cole Meany,
who real heads will know as DJ Pat Farrell from the Alan Partridge movie. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
What?
Cole Meany playing Miles O'Brien on Star Trek.
But Star Trek, which is vastly less important and influential than Steve Coogan's Alan Partridge character.
Excuse me. Cole Meany playing Agent Duncan Malloy from Con Air.
Okay, I will grant you, going from him as the irate Irish DJ with a gun in Alan Partridge and then going back to Con Air and having to be the most over-the-top asshole American in the world is pretty funny.
Anyway, give me let's talk a little bit about the introduction of Cole Meany and that storyline, and then we'll backtrack a little bit through Bridget Fonda's storyline here.
Cole Meany, who in this movie plays a doctor of kind of female pleasure, like basically a sex doctor, right? Like a new age sex doctor.
He's a con man.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be getting something out of it. Picture Steve Brule from Brule's Rules, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what Cole Meany looks like in this. I even think he might be wearing a wig, but we can discuss that later. But so he arrives at the resort. He is preaching this gospel of, women deriving more pleasure from sex and women being able to get pleasure in these regards. And he then connects her with another doctor in town who specifically does female pelvic massage, which is basically you go to this doctor and he masturbates her until she comes. And then she and her friend are getting really involved with these two guys, and they're coming a lot. Look, I gotta say, Bridget Fonda is having a much better time at the sanitarium than Matthew Broderick is.
That's very true. Is she having a better time than John Harvey Kellogg?
I think she is, because John Harvey Kellogg is not really fully enjoying the fruits of his body, Like, I think she's having a better time than a bowl full of cornflakes, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Pleasure doesn't really seem to be a button in his toolbox.
No.
Speak. Are you picking up the euphemism I'm laying down? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. But I'm sure there's a cereal I can eat to help with that. But yeah, so basically just her arc in this movie is one of just, like, learning to get in touch with pleasure, which, cool, good for her. The girls can do it too, y'all.
So kind of, like, the place she ends up, they're kind of coda. Her and Matthew Broderick, they stay together despite all the infidelities and, sexual enlightenment that Bridget Fonda goes through. And they end up having another kid. Mm-hmm. Which is something that she states that she wants early on. She's like, I don't want it now. After we're done with this place and we're healthy again, I want another kid. Which is a huge statement to make after what they've been through. Yeah. And they essentially get a happy ending.
And okay, but why? Why is, like, because the way that this all comes to a head is that Matthew Broderick is, I don't know, he's been out on a boat with his nurse, and then they are starting to make out, and they're going to have sex, and then he's like, no, I can't do this, I love my wife, I must go to her. So then he runs to where Bridget Fonda is, and then he finds her and her friend both being fingered by one of these sex doctors while Cole Meany reclines nearby watching and masturbating. Sorry to say all these things to you folks. But, and so then he intervenes in all this, and he and Bridget Fonda are kind of arguing some, and she says, well, we have to stay here because you're not well. And then he says, no, I'm better, I feel better. And then she's like, oh, well, then we can leave. And then they literally just leave.
Yeah, I mean, granted, we're an hour and 45 minutes into the movie at that point, and I'm like, cool, just get the fuck out of here. I'm kind of done with this.
Yeah, any which way you can get us to the credits, I mean, sure, do it.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. I mean, but you're not wrong. It is kind of just oh, okay, well then let's go. I think to some degree it's that, and we don't ever, see this conversation or thought process, but I think Bridget Fonda kind of recognizes the insane nature of the Kellogg method of sex is bad and, your body's going to rot from the inside out if you have sex except for procreation, because she's been turned onto this new way of life. And so she's like, oh, okay, yeah, this whole thing doesn't work out anymore. And if you're feeling good, I'm feeling good. Let's get out of here.
Sure. But okay, you're meeting the movie like 3/4 of the way. And I think that's beautiful.
Agreed.
Okay. So first, Matthew Broderick, again, he was a terrible husband. He has betrayed her before the movie. He comes to this clinic and then, without question or any regret or remorse, betrays her again, sleeping with Laura Flynn Boyle and then attempting an affair with his nurse. But then he just he says A, so then it's not okay for his wife to get some. Okay, that doesn't seem good. And then B, it's like, okay, but he's not going to atone for that. He's not going to confess to that. He's not going to seem to go through anything with that. Okay. Also, when the movie starts, he is genuinely not well. Like, he can't keep food down. He's like pallid and wasting away. And then he is at the clinic. He experiences a lot of these quack cures, which the movie presents as like, Dr. Kellogg is insane. None of this stuff makes sense. It's in fact actively harmful. Dr. Kellogg gives him that operation at one point and like removes part of his intestines, but it seems to have zero effect. It is never mentioned again in the movie. So the fact that Matthew Broderick is suddenly better, is the movie trying to say, no, all of this shit worked, actually?
Okay, you highlighted something for me that I flagged both times that I watched it, but so much insane shit happens in the first 20 minutes of this movie that the question immediately like disappeared from my brain, which is, I didn't when this movie starts, I am under the impression that there's not really anything wrong with Matthew Broderick.
That it's psychological.
It's the attempt to fix something that is fucking him up.
Yeah.
That's my impression. But then by the time he gets to the sanitarium and so many things are being thrown at him, like, he believes that he's sick. And so then, like, where does the transition happen from me going, he's not really sick and Kellogg is just insane, to he is sick and Kellogg might be insane, but he's going to be fixed through this process. There's something like I lose sight of the he's not really sick part at a certain point.
It's like I don't even think the movie really knows from scene to scene what's wrong with Matthew Broderick, or even if anything is wrong with Matthew Broderick.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I think, what I was alluding to earlier about that. Like, this is the type of movie that should be in that vein of, and flirts with that a serious man vibe, right? Where, like, just a spineless character who has no autonomy in his surroundings, and like just being whisked from one thing to the next and not being able to say no out of politeness or decorum or whatever the case may be. He's just always at his own peril. Kind of a Mike from Red Belt. Like, by his honor, his whole life is getting fucked up because he doesn't want to spoil someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what this movie should be, and I think it's trying to be at times, but without much intention behind it.
Yeah, there are, I think, so many places in this story where it seems like everybody just decided, well, it's gonna look really good. We're gonna have 20 extras in period costume, all doing calisthenics in the background of the shots. There will be a lot of visual depth there. It'll be lit very well, and it will all look like something, and then maybe looking like something will mean that it actually will be something.
Again, shout out to Penny Rose, costume designer. So many costumes in this, and just looking awesome.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna take a shout away from Penny Rose for all of the weird handkerchief underwear, though. I'm sorry, everything else was great. That underwear bums me out.
Okay, all right. We know Kellogg has gotten to Truman's kink for that underwear.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's be clear, though. I don't like it, so it's not a kink. It's an anti-kink.
I know. Your kink has been removed.
Oh yes. Oh, I see. Yes, he force fed me enough cereal, and I'm no longer into that because I definitely was before. I got two more things. We want to try and bring this around. Bring
it back to me, man.
The big sad story of the road to Wellville.
Okay.
So much of this movie is about sex, and it's like, and there's two different ideas about sex going on here that are diametrically opposed to one another, but they're never in conflict. Dr. Kellogg from scene one is like, sex is bad unless you're making a baby, and you should do all kinds of insane stuff so you never jerk off. And then on the other side, there's Cole Meany at the resort saying, hey, sexual pleasure is awesome and good and you should do it. And like, they even at one point when Bridget Fonda is first introduced to this guy, Cole Meany's character, she's like, oh, what does Dr. Kellogg think of him? And it's like, oh, he hates him. And it's like, so first, then why is Dr. Kellogg letting the sex crazy guy come and hang out and talk to his patients? What's with that?
You can't be everywhere all times. Also, I don't know. There are times when I'm like, is this still at the resort? The setting starts to get a little fuzzy for me at points.
Yeah, I guess because it's not like a center where they like lock you in. I guess you can leave.
Right. Where are they dancing? When Bridget Fonda is being told something about pleasure or whatever, and they're like all line dancing, and then she rushes out. Is that at the resort? I got the feeling that wasn't.
I'm pretty sure that's at the resort. It's at their Christmas party.
All right.
Also, side note.
That's right. Yeah.
Bridget Fonda and Matthew Broderick appear to be at this place for like 6 goddamn months. That is so many enemas. Jesus.
There's literally a cut to snow on the ground Christmas music transition. Like time has passed. That you see those in like, I feel like a Christmas Vacation comes to mind. You know, they open the little advent calendar doors and then you cut to like, oh, snow has fallen and it's a new day and you know the Christmas time is here all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like the massive time jump in right at the beginning of the Playmobil movie. It's like, wow, we really have seen these people grow. But so then also though, just that Dr. Kellogg's whole thing is sex is bad, you shouldn't have sex. All these people are coming here because they are devotees of Dr. Kellogg.
They're coming there.
Yes. Well, this is the thing.
See what I did?
Yeah, you know what, Landon? You know what? Here's some pirate gold for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you win. They have traveled to the sanitarium to study under Dr. Kellogg and participate in his remedies and gain his wisdom. But then all these people are really horny. And they're all having sex. Like, Laura Flynn Boyle is there specifically because she wants treatment from Dr. Kellogg, but then she's begging Matthew Broderick to have sex with her. So it seems like even the people who buy into everything else he says are not listening to the number one thing he says.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think, I had a note at one point where I was so lost in the sauce with this movie that I'm like, this movie's clearly meant to be absurd. Yeah. But how do you critique absurdism when the absurdism isn't working? And I think you just hit on exactly what you can hold up to the light and critique, which is the satire.
Yes.
The satire doesn't work here, where it's supposed to be, as you just said, this is a clinic where sex is bad. All forms of sex is bad.
Yeah.
But everyone is horny. So then, like, how do you display those two things in juxtaposition in a way that it's commenting on the ideology? And it doesn't really. It's just those two things exist simultaneously in the movie without ever really coming into conflict with each other.
You're totally right though. Like the idea of we're all at the celibacy health clinic, but we're so horny we can't function is great. And if you work within that tension, but instead it's just everybody is having sex, and the movie is just saying like, hey, check it out, they're naked, they're fucking, and not saying and like how are they making sense of this in regards to the gospel being preached to them by their health god.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a word you said because I was so caught up in the fart noise I made when I was trying to laugh a second ago, and I'm so sorry for that.
No, that's fine. You're just like the Russian guy who comes to the clinic because he has a terrible, debilitating case of the farts.
That's the last thing I need to talk about before we wrap up this episode.
The farting Russian.
It's a pretty pivotal scene kind of in the middle of the movie, or right before the middle of the movie. Matthew Broderick is separated, and we didn't really talk about John Neville in this movie. Baron Munchausen himself.
Oh my god. I was so stoked when I realized that was who it was. He's great, man. I love John Neville.
They're having this conversation, Laura Flynn Boyle, John Neville, the farting Russian, and I think is it John Neville's wife?
I guess, yeah.
But there's a thing called Fletcherizing, which is this importance of chewing your food. Not just chewing, but masticating. You need to chew every bite at least 45 times in order for the proper digestion to happen.
Yes.
And so they're having this conversation about chewing. There's a sign on the wall about Fletcherizing, and then they all break into a song about chew, chew, chew. It's good for you. Meanwhile, this Russian is sitting at the table fart noises and all. Okay, folks, listen. I gave you the preface. I'm not into this. So this is as painful for me to say as it is for you to hear. I think there is a moment in which he farts and takes a napkin off the table and wipes his own ass.
Yeah.
This dude is going through it. It's disgusting, and no one is acknowledging it. This guy's dying of dysentery. He ate too many cherries. He's gonna die.
That scene was sort of my Joker radicalization moment on this movie. I think because, first scene with him, exercising and talking to the reporters about pooping, I'm like, okay, movie, you're making a swing. I wonder how long this is going to work for me. And that was the scene where it's just like, okay, fucking, all right, Road to Wellville, you can fuck right off. Because it's like, Laura Flynn Boyle, like, Matthew Broderick is already, like, horny for her, and then she asks him, like, William, do you masticate? And then he's like, oh, what? Do I oh, you mean chewing? Oh. And then they all start singing this song about chewing, and then everyone in the room starts, chew, 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 you have to chew, and he's just ripping ass and farting again and again, and I'm like, have I gone insane?
He shits his pants. He has shit his pants in that scene.
It's like the movie is just giving you so much.
It's way too much. It's too much shenanigans.
It's too many shenanigans. That was my breaking point. That was really, that scene is right. But it's like, this is a movie for grown-ups. This is an R-rated movie. This isn't like, if this was happening in the Playmobil movie, it would be like, well, they had to, this is a movie for kids made by people who hate kids. But no, this was like...
This is a movie made by kids for kids who hate adults.
Yeah. This movie is made by the guy who made Mississippi Burning and Pink Floyd's The Wall. And it's just like, you have to chew your food. Like, it's just, yeah.
Oh my God.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
So, Truman, why was this movie forgotten?
You know what? That's exactly why this movie was forgotten right there. This movie is too highbrow for the lowbrow crowd, and it's too lowbrow for the highbrow crowd. It's got... This movie has the comic sensibility of a Farrelly Brothers movie, however, without any of the kind of heart or sweetness that they bring to a lot of their better films. But it's presented like a Merchant Ivory production. With all of this, like, like the dialogue is like a Broadway play, and it's very, like, wordy and verbose, and there's, like, $10
Dare I
words.
say, it veers towards reminiscence at certain points.
Yeah, agreed. Sometimes they get a little too thick on the dialogue. So, like, the people who want to laugh at poop and jerk-off jokes aren't going to go to see the lovingly researched period piece, and the people who want to watch a thought-provoking historical dramedy are not going to be happy when they have paid their money and then all they're getting is poop and jerk-off jokes. And also, the poop and jerk-off jokes aren't even that good compared to other poop and jerk-off jokes I've heard. So,
yeah, agreed.
It misses all of its target audiences. Why do you think it was forgotten?
Okay, this might be feeling like a little bit of a cheat, but I truly think this is just a case of, no word of mouth, obviously. You're going to go first weekend, and, like, who are you going to recommend go see this movie?
I saw this great movie that's all about pooping and butts.
Even if you enjoyed it, you can't, like, you're not going to go to, Pinnacle the next week and go, you know what, we saw The Road to Wellville. Yeah, we kind of liked it. We thought it was kind of fun. As you shovel nuts in your mouth. Like, that's not going to happen. And then I think between that and just it getting decimated with critics, short of Mr. Roger Ebert, who loved this movie.
Oh my God! Now I think what I want to do is I do want to play a short clip from the Siskel and Ebert at the movies where they review this movie, and just the sound that Gene Siskel makes when he hears Roger Ebert's review.
Yes.
The Road to Wellville does look good. A lot of loving care went into every facet of the filmmaking here, except one, the script. Obviously, writer-director Alan Parker is making some kind of commentary on today's health craze, but I'm not sure what comment. I don't think there's much of a point to this piece. Thumbs down for me on the road to Wellville.
Well, there's a lot in what you say, Gene, and yet my thumb is up, and I'll tell you why. No, first of all, I'm one of these people. I'm interested in all of this stuff. I'm the kind of guy that gets hypnotized going up and down the aisles of the health food store, looking at all of these products, reading all of these books.
I would have rather been in a health food store
and
than
oddly
in this picture.
enough, I think that actually this movie will appeal more to the targets of its satire than to people like yourself. I thought there were a lot of big laughs in it, and although I agree with you that I don't have any idea what the point is, I think it does show a fascinating microcosm of American history.
Yeah.
I love, but that's also, that is so indicative of Roger Ebert and the way, like, the way that he, like, almost all the time spot on, but then it's the same with American Dreams, where he's just like, I think it's brilliant.
Like, you know, he had a button, and some people knew how to push it.
I mean,
I think he likes satire, even if it doesn't work. I think he appreciates the attempt at something.
He appreciates that there's something relevant being mocked. I mean, his review of this is just, oh man, health food crazes, right? And
yeah.
And he's also on the record as liking boobs, and there's some boobs in this movie, so
that's true.
You know how to get at least one thumb up.
Okay. Anyway.
What?
Nothing.
What?
We're not going anywhere. I would also say that everyone's careers kind of overshadows this movie. Mm-hmm. We talked about that in the past. I don't think this is really superstar syndrome, but like, you think Anthony Hopkins, you're not thinking of The Road to Wellville. You think Dana Carvey, you're not thinking The Road to Wellville. You think Matthew Broderick, John Cusack, Bridget Fonda, you know, you're not thinking of The Road to Wellville. This movie is just like, everyone actively tried to ignore it.
You know, if I'm Matthew Broderick's publicist, I'm not going to be trying to get lots of people to see the movie where my client is just getting stuff put up his butt the entire time.
Yes. So that brings us to our verdict. Should we send this back to modern memory or leave it forgotten? Truman, you got the first blow here.
Landon, I want to forget this movie. We can get our own fart and jack off jokes here in the future. We don't need to go back to the 90s for that. What's your take?
I agree we should leave it forgotten, though I will caveat by saying I think the best way to experience this movie, and not to sound old man, it was better in my time, but the best way to experience this movie is just catching bits of it on TV, for like 10-minute periods over the course of a month, just like, and not even in order, just like, oh, this is a weird movie. Anyway, what else is on? Like, let it capture your fascination for just little tiny tastes, and then move on with your life.
Microdose this movie, basically. it's the better way. No, you're completely right. You can appreciate the set design, and you can get one or two poop jokes, and then walk away believing that that's not the whole film.
And I think it's such a bizarre film. Like, there was a moment where I'm like, do we send this back just because there's nothing else like it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that to people. But I think there's something to just like the sample platter of this.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are things like it, namely the movie Leatherheads, which, again, no one should watch.
I haven't seen that. How much shit is in Leatherheads?
No, very little. In fact, almost none. A lot of mud, but no shit. So it learned the lesson of The Road to Wellville, I suppose. It is a weirdly nothing movie. Like, I realize we didn't even talk about how the movie ends, and it doesn't really matter, because nothing changes. Like, everything stays the same.
Yeah.
You could watch any scene in any order, and it wouldn't really affect your take on what the film is.
It's weird. So we're gonna leave it forgotten. I guess that wraps up today's episode of The Road to Wellville, 1994. We're gonna leave it floating out here as we move on to next week for wrapping up any additional thoughts we have as we go into our mini transmission. Until then, for Truman Caps, I have been Landon Solano.
And for Landon Solano, I've been Truman Caps. Everybody masticate. Landon!
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit MovieMemoryMachine.com.